Greetings, my name is Masachama Baloyi. I'm the founder and CEO of empath Human Capital. We are your guide to building and sustaining a high-performance culture. Welcome to the Moments of Impact. We hope we will encourage you to perform, to honor your gifts and talents, to meet and exceed your key performance indicators. In Barack Obama's memoir, A Promised Land, he recalls a moment when he wasn't sure if he should run for presidency. In that moment, Teddy Kennedy said, "Barack, moments like these are rare. You think you may not be ready, that you'll do it at a more convenient time. But you don't choose time. The time chooses you. Either you seize what may turn out to be the only chance you have, or you decide you're willing to live with the knowledge that the chance has passed you by. We are all called for such a time as this." Thank you, Mark Barnes, for honoring our invite. Mark is the founder of Purple Group. He once accepted the unpopular role of leading the South African Post Office. And now he aspires to acquire the same self Post Office. How do you do?
Nice to meet you, and it's my honor to be here. Thank you.
So I asked Mark to tell us what he considers to be the makings of a good leader.
It's something that's not easily or readily defined, but I would choose 4 characteristics in my experience that I've seen in practice. The first one would be to have an independent mind, to have a mind that can think for itself, that can sort out the facts from the fiction and make decisions. The second thing would be to have certainty of purpose. You actually need to know where you're going. A lot of people ask me for financial advice and they say, "Where should I go from here?" And I say, "Where do you want to get to?" Okay, and let's work back from there. So that would be the second thing that I would say. Beyond an independent mind, you need to have certainty of purpose. You need to have empathy. It's probably the most important characteristic of leadership, is that you need to be able to sit with the people that you lead. You need to be able to mix it amongst them. You need to be able to understand how they think. You need to be able to stand behind them as much as you stand on top of them. And so I think empathy is probably the most valuable lesson I've learned, particularly at the Post Office, which was such a broad-based organization. And then you need a bit of character, a bit of gees, a bit of stuff, you know. You need to want it. You need to enjoy it. You need to be able to communicate with people. But you need a clear mind. You need to know where you're going. And then you need to incrementally get there. You need to, and one of the challenges we've got in our country is we all sort of know where we want to end up. But no one's doing anything about that tomorrow in a small, measurable piece.
Now, it's very nerve-wracking to make decisions, particularly that impact people's lives. How long does it take you to make a decision?
It takes me about 4 seconds to say no, and a little longer to say yes.
And what process do you go through to get to that yes? Can you tell us through your thinking?
I think there's one process. Can you distill the essence of the proposal in front of you? Do you deeply understand the economic model or the particular challenge or why it works? And most successful businesses I've been able to define in one sentence. For example, Uber. I mean, why is Uber successful? Well, to me, it's kind of simple. Uber comes to you. So you don't look for a taxi, the taxi looks for you. That's kind of clever, right? And so if you go to the essence of all of these very successful businesses, they have in common the fact that they solve a problem, and that's worth money.
Yeah.
And they can define exactly what they do, which also means that they know what they don't do. And you need to focus to succeed. And you need to enjoy what you're doing more than those who are just doing it to earn a living. Okay? Because the person who has an aptitude and a like for what they're doing will always beat the competition who's doing it for some other purpose than fulfillment.
I like that. Do it for something bigger than you.
Yeah. You'll spend your life, I think, and you'll get as old as I am, and then these things will become obvious to you. Okay? You must spend your life basically walking towards yourself, okay? And seeing whether you can like yourself more and more, and seeing whether that person that you're finding is the person you want to be, and if that person isn't, change that person, but at some point embrace who you are, completely, and without reserve, and then be you. There's nothing more valuable.
Love that. Now, we've just survived the pandemic. We're still trying to recover. You're doing exceptionally well.
Well, I'm old. You don't get.
Of course, you've got a sense of humor too. What attributes do you think one needs to develop to survive the as-is?
Well, it's a healthy mix of challenges and acceptance. Okay, so and it's truth. The most important weapon in life is truth. Okay, so you need to, when you see something, you need to know what it is. And someone taught me this adage in business. You know, bad news by email, good news by boat. Okay, you need to take the bad news on immediately. Okay, and you need to confront the truth, and then you need to discern between what is weather, what is something that you can do nothing about, okay, and what is something that's under your influence that you can change, that you can affect. So if you wake up in the morning and you look outside and it's raining, but okay, there's not much you can do about it. Don't cry about it. Just put on a raincoat. Okay.
True story.
But if you want to, you know, get to work in a certain route, you can choose. There are things over which you have influence.
Yeah.
Deal with those, and don't deal with the weather. Okay. Don't deal with the exogenous variables, and then, you know where you're going, and accept that, you know, life is full of pluses and minuses, and it almost worries me when I've had a few pluses in a row. You know, plus, plus, plus. I'm like, where's the minus coming? Because it's coming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at Quality Street, the streets, do you know
Yes,
Quality
yes,
Street?
yes. I remember those. We used to have
so
them.
Quality
during
Street,
Christmas.
you can't buy just the green ones or
True
the purple
story.
ones. You have to buy the whole packet, okay? And that's life. We have got a collection of pluses and minuses that make us who we are as individuals, and you better embrace those, and you better get on with it. And at some point, you need to find yourself looking around and saying, is there anyone here I'd rather be?
Yeah.
And the answer should be no. Okay, so how do you cope with as is? Face the truth. If the rules are that we've got a pandemic and you've got to do this, that, and the next thing to avoid getting sick, or do this if you do get sick, or stay out of that way, or change your business model, or change your supply chain agreements, or whatever it is, do that. Don't bemoan it. We spend our life a lot in this country talking about the challenges, not the solutions. A challenge is just the introductory paragraph to a solution.
So we must get into execution mode.
Do something small, measurable, incremental, that people can see and they'll follow you. Don't make promises. Do something that's tangible, that's real.
It takes a lot to do, Mark. It takes a lot to implement. It takes a level of confidence, a level of bravado, a level of intellect within your area of interest and expertise, and that's the financial markets, I assume. What skills are in demand? What skills are critical right now? What should young people that are currently unemployed, and perhaps they're graduates, maybe they're actuaries, maybe they are HR people, maybe they're teachers, what are critical areas of expertise within your area?
Adapt to the reality and accept it. Okay. First of all, you know, the world is changing very rapidly in technology. I mean, if you take the banking industry, for example, now the banking industry must confront the fact that one day there will be no bank branches. It's just how it is. Okay? We have already come to terms with the fact that we live on that little box that you've got in your hands. Okay?
Yes.
Embrace it. Don't get, you know. And so, new technology, new ways of thinking, when you see it coming, and when you look at our country in particular, and you look at the consequences of us not holding hands, then realize you need to hold hands. You need to find yourself amongst people that are different to you and celebrate those differences. Don't fight them. The only thing that we're really good at in South Africa is rugby. Nogal, can you believe it? Okay. And we've got a mixed rugby team that knows the end game. What's the end game? The guy with the most points and the whistle blows wins. Okay.
True story.
Okay, and so the big, strong guy that's the prop he doesn't try and run, he passes it to the skinny little oak who can run like hell. Okay, and we need to pass the ball around to one another. We need to recognize that we all have a contribution to make towards some common purpose and stop guarding your comfort zones. Get out of your comfort zone and get onto the field.
Thank you, Mark. And Mark did that well. Do you mind if I share how we met?
As long as Mom's not watching.
No,
No.
Mark. So it happened by pure chance. I walked to the local grocery store and Mark was there. And it happened that they closed early because they were doing stock take. Because I had walked, Mark obviously drove. And he said to me, no, there's another shop that I know that's close by. Maybe we should try that one. And I said, unfortunately, I have to walk back home. It's getting late. And Mark said, no, don't worry. And he gave me a lift. And that's the point about him being accessible. I, of course, interrogated him about easy equities. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Easy Equities is a phenomenal success. It's one of those 20-year overnight successes. It took us forever to build that thing.
Did it take 20 years for real?
14,
Or this is
14.
And you launched when?
We launched some time ago, but Easy Equities is growing like mad. It has at its center the fact that anyone can start investing with any small amount of money. The whole concept of investing, well, in South Africa for that matter, most people haven't got any assets. They've just got liabilities. They owe money on everything that they have. Okay? And at the end of their lives, they pay off that loan, and then their kids sell the house and buy a BMW, okay? Or whatever the case may be. We are giving ordinary people in the street the opportunity to save a small proportion of their salary and start investing in shares. And you know what happens? For the first time in their lives, they own an asset. And they look after it, and it will create wealth. And so we've made what was previously inaccessible and misunderstood at your fingertips. You can start investing on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange with 100 rand. That's quite cool, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so accessible.
Yeah, it's accessible. And so if you look at the demographic profile of our client base, it's South Africa in a snapshot across all demographics. People who for the first time, and when they get into financial stress, they don't get out of their investments. They make another plan because they're now investors. They're now, they've got a vested interest in the outcome of our economy. And it's only for a small amount, but it's theirs.
I like that. You must obviously know something that many of us don't know. To have foresight, to have the vision, to trade and bring trading, something that was so exclusive to the selected few. You made it accessible to everybody.
To everybody.
What are you reading? Where do you get this insights from? What are you reading? Help me bridge that knowledge gap. What are you reading? What are you exposed to? What are you doing?
Well, the thing we read the most in Easy Equities is the people. That's what we read. We don't read this in a book. We're writing the book, man. We listen. I've got children. People say to me, what's the key ingredient of bringing up your children? For me, it's very simple. I stand behind my children, not in front of them. Okay. And so we listen. Like I said, you want to solve the problem. The problem with investing in South Africa was that most people didn't even think about investing. They thought about whether they can eat 2 weeks in a row. Okay? And so you've got to say, take a little piece of that and invest in it. What am I reading? I'm reading a book on basic photography. I used to do a lot of photography. I'm getting back into that. But with manual cameras, slow. Okay? I'm reading a book by a guy called A.A. Gill called Uncle Dysfunctional. He was a famous writer overseas. I'm reading the manual for my new camera. I don't read that much. In fact, my buy-to-read ratio of books is about 5 to 1. Okay. I see a book, an exclusive book, and I love the title, and I buy the book.
Just to that.
Bit later to get to read it. I've got more books than I could read in the rest of my life. Yeah.
Wow, Mark. Wow.
But I'm wrong. I should be reading.
Tell me
I
about...
write a column, so I need to read.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you do need to read. I was hoping that you're going to give us something. Camera, Manuel, I'm not so sure. That's a hobby. But when was your moment of impact in your life? Where you felt like...
I'm not sure it's come yet, actually.
Mark.
I think I've got more to look forward to than I've come from. When you ask someone who they are, be careful of those who tell you who they were.
Ooh.
Okay?
Drops mic. Say that again.
When you ask someone who they are, be careful of those who tell you who they were.
I
Because
love
maybe
that.
they don't have a future.
Oh, wow.
You must live in the present, you must think forward. And if you find yourself talking about who you were, then you've probably peaked.
Oh, wow. Now, 80% of the placements that we make are within the supply chain. And I'm most excited that you want to acquire the post office.
Well, they don't want me to buy it, so it's not going to happen.
Try harder. So here's my take. Imagine we're able to reach everybody, and distribution was made easy in the country, even in the most remote areas. Half of our problems, I suspect, might be gone or might be eliminated.
Well, that was the reason I went there. That was the reason I agreed, that's what I agreed to do with the then Deputy President, Cyril Ramaphosa. That's what I didn't see a post office. I saw a commercially irreplaceable footprint, physical footprint, and I saw every counter in the post office as a channel between the state and the people of South Africa. So in my world, you would go there and get post, sure, but you'd also go there. Why don't you go there to collect your antiretrovirals? Why don't you go there to,
Collect your textbooks.
Get your, and download learning and have a Wi-Fi center at the post office? Why don't you go there for your COVID vaccination? Why don't you go where all of the informal sector is looking for a place nearby that attaches them to the formal economy? Because the absence of that attachment means that the poorest people in our country pay the highest cost per unit of consumption. To buy one apple costs much more than to buy a box of apples.
Simply because of supply chain and distribution.
Okay, and so it is a manifestly beautiful thing, the post office, to me, but I had a disagreement with the shareholders, and that's in my past. Remember, I don't do the past thing.
3 words to describe your experience at the post office?
Well, I can't think of 3 words. I'll need a little more than 3 minutes to do that. But I'd say this. I went there to teach, and I ended up learning.
Oh, wow.
And I went there to be the boss, and I found myself amongst the people. And it was heartwarming and wonderful. And if you're bored one day, let's go to any post office you like and see what happens. So what did I learn? I learned that culture is more important than money. I learned that that failure is not a refuge. It's not a place where you should go and hide. Failure was a refuge when I got there. So you need to know that if you put your hand up, it's better than not putting your hand up even if you're wrong. And then you need prospect. We as a country, forget about the post office, we just need to have the prospect of economic dignity amongst us so that we believe it's possible. And then we can get over all of this nonsense between us.
True story.
And start holding hands. Or even hugging, maybe.
Thank you for being my friend.
Okay.
I
Thank you
think
for having me.
Mark said it best. We must care. We must reach. Mark is a few years younger than me. And he was reachable, and he cares. He's building the country. He's making good choices for us.
Hope so.
He's got a lot of money that he needs to invest. He's easy to reach. He's on Twitter. I asked him why he's not on LinkedIn. He told me that he's got enough friends. But go reach out to him on Twitter.
I'm trying to get less friends.
Well, I think he cares. I think this was just a journey of just trying to bridge that knowledge gap. Here's a man who's done really well, and here we are trying to make it. By 2050, Africa would have doubled its youth population. We will be the human capital of the world. I implore you, wherever you are, please care. Do your bit. If you're privileged to go to work, do your best. Imagine we didn't care. Imagine the doctor at your local clinic didn't care. Imagine the security guard where you dropped off your kids this morning for school said he's not paid enough, therefore he doesn't care. Imagine the people packaging your food right now They didn't follow the quality management systems and they didn't care. The consequences of that will be dire. Please care. We have to get South Africa to work. I'd like to employ all people that joined us today. If you've got any limitations, if you're not reaching your KPIs, if you've got hindrances, please write to me. I'm interested to find out what's holding you back. Why are we not productive? What's taking us so long? Why are we scared? Maybe like Mark said, you're too scared to make a decision, you want to hide, you don't want to make mistakes. Write to me. My email address, baloyi@indiepath.co.za. Baloyi spelled BALOYI@INDIPATH.co.za. We will distribute anonymously, or if you wish to be mentioned, we will share whatever it is. But thank you so very much for joining us, and I wish you the courage to succeed. My name, Masachaba Baloyi, CEO and founder of IndiePath Human Capital. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Good
Mark.
afternoon.